Hello Success, we're going to do a bit of problem solving today. I'm going to concentrate on one question. It might take all lesson or it might not, but hopefully we'll work out a good way of doing this problem. I'm going to look at one of the problems that was in the one of the reasoning papers on the SATs assessments you did a couple of weeks back. And I have chosen the last question of paper 2. Quite often the last question means it's quite tricky but still at least two of you got this right. That doesn't mean to say that Ben, B and Freddie, you can switch off, but hopefully you will be able to work through to see whether your method was the same as mine, and you might be able to help explain to other people how you went about it. So here we go. Here is the question. And as always, we're going to start off by reading the question. So here we go. Amina made this cuboid using centimetre cubes. And then there's a picture of the cuboid. And if you're not quite sure what a cuboid is, it's basically like a 3D rectangle. So we've got our rectangle on this face, and then it's a 3D shape, so it's going back like that. Okay, and the dimensions of this cuboid are the length across here is 6 centimetres, the height is 4 centimetres, and the depth is 3 centimetres. So those are going to be useful things to know. It says, Stefan makes a cuboid that is 5 centimetres longer, 5 centimetres taller, and 5 centimetres wider than Amina's cuboid. You have to excuse me, I'm trying to read it in mirror writing because that's what I can see, and it's not as easy as I thought. Okay, the question then says, what is the difference between the number of cubes in Amina's and Stefan's cuboids? Okay, I'm going to stop there. I'm going to leave that on the screen. You can pause it there. And I'd like you just to have a think about how you would go about answering that question. You don't have to try and answer it yet, but what are the steps you're going to need to take? Remembering that you're trying to find out the difference between the number of cubes in Amina's and Stefan's cuboids. Okay, so this is how I'm going to start attacking this problem. I've started by actually writing out the question, and I sometimes find that helps me get my mind in order. It helps me really check to see whether I have understood the question or not. You don't have to do that, but I would suggest you either highlight or underline the important words. And I reckon that the important words here are, first one is the difference. And I'm hoping if you see a difference in a question, that should be ringing bells as to what sort of calculation you're going to need to do. And hopefully it's saying take away, subtraction at you. Whenever you see difference, it's almost always a take away calculation. So the difference between, and the other bit I've underlined is number of cubes. So I've drawn a little picture of Amina's cuboid, and I know I've got to work out the number of cubes in that, and then work out the difference between the number of cubes in Amina's cuboid and the number of cubes in Stefan's cuboid. If I go back to the question, it tells me that Stefan's cuboid is 5 centimetres longer, 5 centimetres taller and 5 centimetres wider than Amina's cuboid. That means it is going to be a bigger cuboid. So that is going to be the bigger of the two cuboids, and I've kind of drawn that over on my piece of it. So Stefan's is bigger, Amina's is smaller. So the overall calculation I'm going to need to do is Stefan's cuboid, the number of cubes in it, take away Amina's. Okay, so hopefully you've got to that. So that's the calculation that will end up with your answer. So now we've got to work out, how do we work out the number of cubes in that cuboid? If you are in Pythagoras or Germain, you might recognise that as the volume of that cuboid, so the amount of space inside that cuboid. Either way, have a think about how you're going to work out how many cubes there are in Amina's cuboid. and come back in a moment and see whether your idea is the same as mine. Okay, so even if you don't know how to calculate the volume of a cuboid, there is loads of really useful information on this diagram that they've helpfully given us. So let's use that. Okay, let's start with what we do know. We talked earlier about here being a lovely rectangle, and we can actually count, can't we, the number of cubes there are in this rectangle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. 24. So fantastic. I'm just going to write that down. 24 cubes in front face. Can you spot a better way of doing that rather than counting them? Hopefully, as you were watching me count, you might have spotted. When I got to the end of here, it's 6. That's one row of 6. When I got to the end of here, that's another row of 6. 6, 12, 18, 24. What have I done there? Yep, I've got 4 rows of 6 cubes. 4 times 6, 4 lots of 6 is 24. So I could have been much neater rather than counting, just to say, I know that the height here is 4 and the length is 6. 4 times 6 is 24. There are 24 cubes in that front face. Brilliant. Okay, what else do I then know about this cuboid? What information haven't I used yet? I've used the 4. I've used the 6. Oh, haven't used that. What does that mean? Okay, so we've talked about that front face, but there are another 2 exactly the same behind it, aren't there? There's one in the middle and one at the back. So I've got 3 lots of 24 to make up all the cubes in that cuboid. How am I going to calculate 3 lots of 24? Yeah, it's a times calculation again. So you can either try and do that in your head. So maybe you might want to say, well, 2 lots of 24, that's straightforward. I can double it to get to 48 and then add the extra lot of 24 on. Or you could do a little calculation in here, 24 times 3, and do it as column multiplication. 4 3s are 12, 2 3s are 6, and 1 is 7. So in Amina's cuboid, there are 72 cubes, we reckon. Great. So to go back to our workings, I'm trying to work out Stefan's cuboid, take away Amina's. So we've done Amina's, that's 72. 72 cubes. So now we've got to work out how many cubes there are in Stefan's cuboid. The information we need for that is here. Stefan makes a cuboid that is 5 centimetres longer, 5 centimetres taller and 5 centimetres wider than Amina's cuboid. So I'm going back over to you, see if you can work out the number of cubes in Stefan's cuboid now.